There's something about a barbershop that makes a man let his guard down. Maybe it's the steady buzz of clippers, the scent of old-school aftershave, or the soft rhythm of guys talking about nothing in particular, sports, the weather, what's for dinner. You sit in that chair, let someone put a blade against your throat, and somehow you feel completely relaxed. I had been going to Vince's shop for a good 5 years. Long enough that he knew exactly how I liked my cut. Clean on the sides, a little messy on top. Nothing fancy. And long enough for me to know he liked to talk, but never about himself. Vince was a big guy. Thick arms, thick neck. Not the kind of strong that comes from gym selfies, but the kind that comes from fixing cars and lifting drywall for 20 years. Square jaw, too much pomade in his gray-streaked hair, and a constant grin that made him look like he was 1 second away from saying something he shouldn't. Probably thought of himself as a bit of a ladies' man. And maybe he was. I never paid him much mind. Just got my hair cut and went about my day. That was until that one afternoon. It was a Wednesday just past lunch. Place was empty when I walked in, just Vince wiping down his gear, looking like he had all the time in the world. He looked up, gave me a grin, and nodded toward the chair. Right on time, buddy. I sat down, let the hum of the place wrap around me like usual. The chair creaked when I leaned back, and for a second, it felt like any other day. Same as usual? He asked. I nodded, and he fired up the clippers. Everything was fine, and then, out of nowhere, he said it. I know what your wife likes. At first, it didn't register. Just floated there in the air, tangled up in the white noise of the clippers. I figured it was nothing, a joke, maybe. Something dumb, not worth thinking about. But then my brain caught up. The buzzing stopped for a split second, just long enough for me to feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I glanced up at the mirror, caught his reflection. He was smirking, not laughing, not apologizing. Just that slow, smug look like he had let something slip on purpose. I gave a short, dry laugh. What did you say? He shook his head, still grinning, and went right back to trimming like he hadn't said a thing. Like he hadn't just dropped a grenade and walked away. And that is when something in my gut turned. Maybe it was nothing. Could have been a stupid attempt at being funny. But my mind had already started piecing things together, dragging up all the little red flags I had shoved to the back of my head. My wife, Emily, had been real into my haircuts lately. More than usual. She would brush the back of my neck after I got home, run her fingers through my hair longer than necessary. You always look your best after seeing Vince, she'd say, with that too-sweet voice of hers. It used to feel nice. Now it felt like a clue I had missed. She had also been leaving the house more. Groceries, Target runs, random errands that always seemed to take longer than they should. Sometimes I'd wake up in the middle of the night and catch the soft glow of her phone screen under the covers, her thumbs moving quick. I told myself it was nothing. Turns out it was something. By the time Vince finished the cut and brushed the hair off my shoulders, I felt like I was sitting in a completely different chair. He clapped a heavy hand on my back. See you next time, he said, that same damn grin still on his face. I paid, walked out, got in my truck, and just sat there. The engine stayed off. My hands were locked on the wheel. My jaw was so tight, I could feel in my ears. If he was joking, it was the worst damn joke he could have told. And if he wasn't, well, then I had a problem. I finally turned the key and headed home. The drive felt strange, like the world looked different all of a sudden. Nothing had changed, but it all felt off. The trees, the pavement, the houses with their trimmed lawns and porch swings. Everything sharper, like I was seeing it through a cracked lens. His voice echoed in my head. I know what your wife likes. He wanted me to hear it. That was the part that stung. If he was screwing around with Emily, he was not just doing it in secret. He was letting me know, like it was a game, like I would not do anything about it. But he was wrong about me. I pulled into the driveway harder than I meant to. Tires squealed a little. Our house looked the same, clean, neat, just like always. The porch swing Emily had begged for, but never used. The same white siding I power washed last spring. Normal. Too normal. I stepped inside. The house smelled like her, vanilla and coffee. She was at the sink, washing dishes, wearing one of those loose sweaters that slipped off her shoulder. Hair up in a messy bun. She looked over and smiled. You're home early. I looked at her for a long second. Everything about her seemed the same. But something in me had changed. I could see it all differently now. The way she moved, the sound of her voice, it all felt rehearsed. I dropped my keys on the counter. Got my hair cut. She dried her hands, walked over, and ran her fingers through my hair like she always did. I caught her wrist halfway through. She froze. What's wrong? I didn't answer right away. I was just looking at her, wondering how long this had been going on, wondering if she'd touch him the same way she touched me. I let her wrist go. Vince said something weird today, I said. She blinked. Weird. Said he knew what my wife likes. Something flickered in her face. It was quick, but it was there. A twitch. A second of static. Then she laughed. Too light, too forced. That sounds like him. He's always saying crap like that. I didn't laugh. She looked nervous now. Just a little. Come on, she said. He's always messing around. Remember when he said he can make you look like George Clooney? Still, I didn't crack a smile. She crossed her arms. Why are you making this a thing? He was clearly joking. I stepped closer. It didn't feel like a joke. She rolled her eyes. You're reading too much into it. That word, overthinking. It is what people say when they want you to shut up and move on. When they're nervous. When they're hiding something. I felt the heat rise in my chest. If it was just a joke, I said quietly, why do you look nervous? She blinked. I don't look nervous. You do. She let out a laugh that sounded more like a hiccup. Oh my God, you're being dramatic. What? You think I'm fooling around with our barber now? She said it like I had accused her of sleeping with a mailman or something. Like it was beneath her. I just looked at her. Her fake little smile faded. You're serious? She asked, her voice a little tighter now. Still, I said nothing. She took a step back, arms crossed. So one dumb line from Vince, and suddenly I am the bad guy? I watched her. She started pacing, her hand dragging through her hair. Unbelievable. I bust my ass trying to be a good wife, keep things together, show you love, and this is what I get in return? Accusations based on a 5-second comment from some barber. Her voice had the kind of anger that was supposed to shut people down. It sounded real, convincing even, but I had seen this side of her before when she was caught in a lie. Nothing major, just dumb little stuff. She would say she forgot to do the dishes when she never planned to. Tell me she only bought one pair of shoes when 2 new boxes showed up. Say she was checking the weather when she was actually texting someone. This wasn't like that. And now she was pushing too hard. I kept my voice calm. Where were you today? She narrowed her eyes. Oh, so this is an interrogation now. Just answer the question. She scoffed. I was out shopping. Like I told you I would be. You wanted to go dig up receipts too. The thing about that kind of response, it's a defense move. One people use when they think you will not actually check. I did not need receipts. I needed the truth. I stared at her. She folded her arms, her posture stiff, chin high like she was daring me to keep pushing. But her eyes were bouncing. She was thinking, planning. This was not a conversation. This was chess. And she thought she was 3 moves ahead. Shopping, I repeated. She rolled her eyes. Yes, shopping. Where? She groaned. Seriously? You want street names? I just waited. She fidgeted. The mall. I walked around, got some coffee. Picked up a few things. Nothing wild. Is that enough detail? Or do you want timestamps too? I did not say anything. She turned, grabbed her purse, pulled out a few crumpled receipts, and tossed them on the counter like she was slamming down a winning hand in a poker game. There. Look, I actually bought stuff. Shocker, right? I scanned the receipts. Clothing store. Cafe. Shoe store. All around noon. Looked normal. Spaced out like someone who spent a lazy afternoon browsing. It almost convinced me. Almost. I picked up the coffee receipt and gave a long look. What did you get? I asked. She tilted her head. What? At the cafe, I said, tapping the paper. What did you order? She hesitated. Just a second. Just enough. As she gave a soft shrug. A latte. I held the slip up between us. It says you ordered 2 drinks. She blinked. I kept my eyes on her. Who was the second one for? She laughed. Loud and forced. Are you seriously doing this right now? Because I got 2 drinks, I must be cheating? That's where we are. Still, I waited. She threw her arms up. Maybe I was thirsty. Maybe I wanted one hot and one iced. Maybe I was with a friend. I nodded slowly. Which friend? What? Name? Her jaw flexed. I could almost see the list running through her mind. She had a few options, but one name came out. Megan. Of course. Megan was her go-to. The best friend I barely talked to. The perfect alibi. I nodded. Call her. And just like that, she froze. Her whole body, tense like I had snapped a trap, shut around her. What? She said, voice suddenly softer, almost like she knew what was coming. I kept my tone flat. Call Megan. I nodded toward her phone sitting on the counter. Put her on speaker. Ask her what you two talked about over coffee today. She froze. Just for a second. But that second was everything. That was it. The kind of silence that screams the truth louder than any confession. She wet her lips. I cannot believe you're doing this. Go ahead. Call her. She shook her head. No. Why not? I asked, my voice rising just a little. Because this is insane, she snapped. You're acting like some jealous maniac over a coffee receipt. Seriously, listen to yourself. I folded my arms. I'm listening. You should try it. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Her chest was rising and falling fast. She looked like she wanted to run, but didn't know where. Then she tried to change her approach. She softened her expression, stepped forward slowly, like I was a scared animal she didn't want to spook. She reached out to touch my arm. Baby, come on. This isn't us. I didn't move. Her hand brushed my sleeve and then dropped when I didn't respond. Maybe you're just stressed, right? She said, tone syrupy like she thought if she used enough soft words, I'd just melt. Work's been a lot lately. Maybe you're just feeling a little insecure. That's when it hit me. That deep, ugly feeling. She was trying to spin it. Make it my fault. My fists clenched. You're lying, I said. Her lips parted, but she did not speak. That was the first real moment I saw it, guilt. Not the kind that was still trying to cover itself up. The kind that knew it had nowhere left to hide. She turned around, hands to her temples, pacing across the room. I can't do this right now, she muttered. I watched her, studied her. She was looking for a way out, a way to bend this story into something else. But it was too late, so I changed my tone. I relaxed my voice. Okay, I said. Forget the coffee. She turned back, cautious. What? I nodded. I believe you. Her shoulders dropped just a little. Thank you. But, I said, taking a breath, I have one more question. She groaned. What now? I met her eyes. How long have you been sleeping with Ray? Her face went blank. Her eyes widened. Her whole body went still. And right then, I had my answer. She blinked hard, like she was trying to reset her face. Are you serious? This again. You never denied it, I said, my voice low. She opened her mouth, then closed it. And that silence? That told me more than words ever could. You know when it started? I said, stepping in closer. When you started complimenting my hair like it was the best thing in the world. When you started touching the back of my head every time I walked in the door. When you started wearing Ray's aftershave. She flinched. I nodded slowly. Yeah, I noticed. She turned away. Nothing happened, she said quickly. Too quickly. I let out a dry laugh. You really gonna stand there and keep lying to me? She started. Don't, I snapped. Just stop. She looked like she was holding her breath. I stared at her, and all the pieces came together. Her late nights, her strange mood swings, the quiet moments that used to feel warm but had turned cold. And that stupid grin on Ray's face when he said what he said. I trusted you, I said. I defended you. She bit her lip. Her eyes were glassy. I didn't mean for this to happen. I laughed. Cold. No, just happened to trip and fall onto my barber. Tears finally came. It wasn't like that. Then tell me. I challenged. What was it like? She wrapped her arms around herself, shaking her head. I don't know. You don't know, she whispered. I was lonely. And there it was, the excuse. The out. Lonely, I repeated. She nodded, quickly, like a drowning woman grabbing a rope. You've been working so much, and I felt invisible. I needed something, someone. I held up a hand. No, you're not going to say you love me while you were sneaking around behind my back. But I do love you, she cried. I stepped closer, voice deadly quiet. You do not get to love me when it is easy and leave me behind when it is not. You do not get to love me and sleep with a man who holds a razor to my neck every month. She broke. Finally, the sobs came, her shoulders shaking, her hands covering her face. I made a mistake, she choked out. I looked her dead in the eye. No, a mistake is forgetting to take the trash out. A mistake is backing into a pole at the grocery store. What you did was deliberate. What you did was a choice. I grabbed my jacket and started gathering my keys, wallet, phone. She saw me moving and panicked. Where are you going? I said nothing. You're seriously walking out? She cried. You're throwing all of this away? I paused at the door and looked back at her. I didn't throw it away, I said quietly. You did. Then I left. The air outside was sharp and cold, but I welcomed it. It cleared my head. My heart was racing, but I kept walking. I had no plan, no destination. All I knew was I could not be under the same roof with a liar for one more second. I got in my truck and slammed the door hard enough to rattle the mirrors. Sat there gripping the steering like I was trying to keep myself from tearing it off. My chest felt tight, and my jaw was clenched so hard I could feel it in my teeth. Her voice kept echoing in my head. You're really going to throw everything away over one mistake? Like I was the one who did this. Like I was the one who wrecked our marriage. I shut my eyes and breathed deep through my nose, trying to calm the anger crawling up my spine. I wanted to punch something, smash the dash, just unload. But I didn't. Instead, I grabbed my phone, scrolled through the list until I landed on the name I never thought I'd see again. Ray. I just sat there, staring at it. My thumb hovered over the call button, burning to press it. I kept thinking about that pause from earlier. That hesitation when I asked him straight up. That silence said it all. He knew he was caught. I thought about driving back to that shop, pulling him outside and dropping him on the concrete. Just beat the smug right off his face. But that would be giving him what he wanted. I needed to do this my way. Controlled. Clean. So I tapped his name again. It rang once. Twice. Then he picked up. Hello. He sounded nervous now. Good. I let the silence drag for a few seconds before I spoke. How long? He didn't answer right away. Then finally, look, man. No, I said, cutting him off. No, look, man. You're going to tell me how long you've been sleeping with my wife. And you're going to do it right now. Another pause. Then a sigh. Couple months. My grip on the steering wheel tightened. Months. I repeated, letting it sink in. Yeah, he said, sounding like he just told me the time of day. I swallowed down the fire in my throat. How did it start? He cleared his throat, like he didn't even want to say it. She came in one day when you weren't with her. Said she was picking up something for you. We started talking. She came on to me. I stared at the windshield like it might break under my stare. And you went along with it. He let out a breath. Yeah. I blinked slowly. You knew she was married. Yeah. You knew she was my wife. Another pause. Softer this time. Yeah. I had to keep myself from throwing the phone across the cab. My knuckles were turning white. You're a real piece of work, Ray. He let out another long breath. I never meant for it to go this far. Save it, I snapped. I don't want your excuses. More silence. Then, the worst thing he could have said. What do you want me to say, man? It happened. It's over now. I laughed once, dry and mean. Over. This wasn't over. Not even close. I dropped my voice lower. You think you're just going to keep cutting hair like none of this happened? Smile at your customers. Flirt with the next wife who walks in. A slight chuckle on the other end. What? You going to come down here and handle it yourself? I smiled cold. Nah, I've got something better in mind. He went quiet. I hung up. Then I sat there in the dark, breathing hard, staring at my own reflection in the rearview mirror. Ray thought he could screw over a man and walk away clean. But he didn't know me. I started the truck, engine rumbling to life beneath my hands. And I had a plan forming. Something better than a punch. Something that would stick. I grabbed my phone again, scrolled through my contacts until I found the one name that could help me pull this off. Mike Danner. Mike wasn't just a buddy. He was the guy who knew people. The guy who could find out anything about anyone. He ran a construction crew by trade, but what he really moved was information. If you wanted someone gone, figuratively or otherwise, you called Mike. I hit dial. It rang twice before he picked up. Well, he said. Haven't heard from you in a long time. Yeah, I said. Been dealing with something. That right? What kind of problem? I looked out at the street. One that needs to disappear. Mike chuckled. Let me guess. It ain't the kind you fix with a hammer. No, I said. It's the kind you fix with a wrecking ball. Silence. Go on, he said. You know Ray's barbershop? Yeah, I know it. What about it? I want it gone. A low whistle. Damn, that's serious. He got too comfortable with my wife. Oh, he said, that kind of serious. Yeah. Mike paused for a second on the other end, and I could practically hear him scratching his chin like he always did when weighing something big. You want this clean or dirty? He asked. I thought about it. Somewhere right in the middle. He let out a dry chuckle. I can make that happen. You looking to hit his money, his reputation, or his life? All of it, I said. Mike whistled through his teeth. You're not just mad. You want a guy to drown. I didn't even hesitate. I wanted to see the tide coming in and know he's not going to make it out. He laughed again, a low, amused sound. All right, man. I'll start pulling strings. Just know it takes time. That's fine, I told him. I'm not in a rush, as long as it hurts. Oh, it'll hurt, he said, and I could almost hear the grin in his voice. Ray's about to regret ever unzipping his fly. I hung up without saying goodbye, because that call, that was me taking the wheel back. That was the line in the sand. I'd spent the last day getting blindsided, stumbling from one punch to the next. But now I was standing up. Now it was my turn to swing. When I got back to the house, it was close to midnight. The lights were out, but I knew she was up. I could feel in the air. Sure enough, when I walked in, she was sitting at the kitchen table, still in the same clothes, eyes puffy, face pale, clutching her phone like she was waiting for something to save her. I didn't say anything. I walked past her, grabbed a beer from the fridge, twisted the cap off, and let it fall wherever it wanted. She stared at me. Where were you? I took a drink. She shifted in her seat. I was hoping you'd come home and we could talk. I finally looked at her. No. She blinked. I walked over to the table, set the beer down hard enough to make her jump. There's nothing to talk about. You pick your side. Now live with it. Her bottom lip trembled. I didn't want to lose you. I let out a bitter laugh. Yeah? You sure didn't act like it when you were letting Ray crawl between your legs. She broke down, sobbing into her hands like the victim in all this. I watched for a second, then shook my head. I'll be sleeping on the couch. You don't have to. I'm not sleeping in the same bed as you. I grabbed a blanket from the hallway closet, tossed it over the couch, and laid down without saying another word. She stood in the kitchen doorway for a while, like she was waiting for me to change my mind. I didn't. Eventually, she turned and went upstairs, and that's where she stayed. I stayed right where I was, staring at the ceiling, wide awake. The couch wasn't the problem. I could have been laying on a bed of feathers, and I still wouldn't have slept. My head was spinning, heart pounding, jaw clenched. I could picture her upstairs, maybe crying, maybe pacing, maybe rehearsing some new lie to make this all seem smaller than it was. But it was too late. This couldn't be fixed. Around 2 in the morning, I sat up, rubbed my face, and grabbed my phone. The quiet in the house was thick as hell, but in my chest, it felt like a storm. Ray's name came to mind, and it lit something up in me. The cockiness. The way he looked me in the eye. Like I was some fool sitting in his chair, clueless, while he cleaned up after screwing my wife. He had no idea what I had in store. I opened my messages. One from Mike was already waiting. Pulled some strings. Ray's lease is up in 2 months. Landlord's not renewing. Someone dropped complaints. Also, health inspector might show up this week. That shop won't pass. He's about to get hit from all sides. I stared at the screen and smiled. That was just step 1. I typed back. Perfect. Keep me posted. Set the phone down and leaned back. The rage hadn't gone away, but now it had a direction. This wasn't revenge for the sake of anger. This was about balance. Control. Power. Ray thought he'd gotten away with it. That he could screw another man's wife, smirk through it, and keep living his life like nothing ever happened. Laura thought she could lie to my face, pretend like I was the one imagining things, and it would all blow over. They were both about to learn. I woke up before sunrise. I didn't sneak around or stay quiet. I wanted her to hear me. Wanted her to feel me moving through the house. Let her lay there in our bed and wonder what I was going to do next. She came down not long after. Hair a mess, sweatshirt half-zipped, barefoot, quiet. She paused at the bottom of the stairs like she was scared to speak. I was leaning against the kitchen counter, drinking coffee, scrolling my phone like it was just another Wednesday. Did you sleep? She asked softly. I didn't look up. No. She shifted her weight. I don't care. She flinched. Good. She crossed her arms, like she was trying to hold herself together. Are we going to talk? I finally looked up. And for the first time, I saw her for what she really was. Not my wife, not my partner, just a stranger wearing her face. I set my mug down, looked her straight in the eyes. "Here's what's going to happen," I said, calm as you like. "I'm filing for divorce." She froze. "Wait, I'm not interested in your story. I don't care what kind of excuses you've outlined up. I don't care how sorry you say you are or how many tears fall down your cheeks. We're done." She took a step toward me, eyes full of panic. "Please, don't do this. We can fix it." I let out a dry, humorless laugh. "Fix it?" I shook my head slowly. "You broke it the minute you opened that door to him. You broke it every time you sent him a text. Every time you looked me in the face and fed me a lie like it was nothing." Her eyes filled, the tears coming now. "But I love you." "No," I said. "No, you don't. If you loved me, none of this would have happened. If you loved me, you wouldn't have betrayed me in the one place I was supposed to feel safe." She was crying. Hard. But I didn't flinch. I stood, grabbed my keys off the counter. "I'll be back later." She choked out a question. "Where are you going?" I paused with my hand on the door, glanced back just enough for her to hear it. "I'm going to make sure Ray's morning sucks more than mine." Then I left. I pulled into the parking lot outside Ray's barbershop just after 9. There he was, leaning up against the doorframe like he had not a care in the world. Coffee in one hand, cigarette in the other. For once, he wasn't grinning. Good. I got out of my truck and walked toward him, slow and steady. I wanted him to feel every step I took. "Morning," I said, flat as a board. He looked nervous. "Look, man." I cut him off. "Your lease is up soon." He blinked. "What?" I pulled out my phone, scrolled to the message Mike sent me, and held it up. He saw it, and I saw the color drain right out of his face. "You're finished," I said. "The city's going to crawl all over this place. You'll have inspectors knocking on your door, health violations, complaint from the neighbors. All of it. You're not going to survive it." His hand tightened around the coffee cup. "You son of a—" I gave him a slow, cold smile. "You brought this on yourself, Ray." His jaw clenched. "You think trashing my business makes us square?" I laughed, quiet and sharp. "This isn't about being square." He stared at me, not getting it. So I leaned in just a little, dropped my voice low. "This is just the beginning. Every time you think you've got your feet back under you, I'll be there. Every time you try to rebuild, I'll tear it down. Again and again." He went quiet, swallowed hard. I backed up a step. "Enjoy your last couple months here. Use them well." Then I turned and walked away, leaving him standing there like a man who just realized the fire was coming, and there was no way out. When I got back to the house, she was gone. Keys, purse, some clothes gone. She'd left a note on the counter, neatly folded. I did not read it. I tore it straight down the middle and dropped it in the trash without blinking. Then I poured myself another cup of coffee. I had things to do, plans to finish, peace to rebuild. And this wasn't closure. This was step one.